Renovating the Rotunda. Speaker, Mr. Jody Lahendro, Supervisory Historic Preservation Architect.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you. And just to show my colors, I hope you all will be joining me in sending good thoughts to the UVA baseball team, who's starting about right now. I'm doing my part with my lucky tie, baseball tie. So, and I wore it yesterday, and they won yesterday. So we'll see how they do today. Thank you to the engagement and to Reunions for this opportunity to share with you the Rotunda work. I gave a talk a year ago for Reunions, and there it was a scripted talk, and it was about all the work to come. This year, I'm going to do something risky and speak off the cuff. I'm going to let the images take me. We're mostly going to have a virtual tour of the construction that has been going on for a year now, about halfway through the construction project. And it will go up to yesterday when I was over taking a number of these images that you'll be seeing. And then I'll talk a little bit at during this about the work that's going to be coming up over the next year. I'm going to start, though, with a very quick, brief history of the Rotunda, just to sort of remind you all of the troubled past of the Rotunda, and then tell you something about the scope of work that we hope to achieve and will achieve during this renovation project. And tumultuous was the word I was trying to think of, and certainly the 1895 fire that on October 27th of that year was the beginning of that. The fire started, it's thought that the fire started with the streetcar system in University Avenue that sent a surge to the electrical system in the annex, and where a spark started, and then the fire spread from the annex to the Rotunda. All that was left of the Rotunda after that fire that was Jefferson's, and is Jefferson's, is the red, the exterior drum of the building, the brick drum of the building itself, and the ground level brickwork of the walls. After the fire, McKim, Mead & White, a firm out of New York City, were called in to reconstruct the Rotunda. Stanford White termed it a restoration. It was not quite a restoration, and I forgot to push the button. Sorry. Thank you, Nicholas. And this is a view, of course, after the 1895 reconstruction, completed in 97, a view that Jefferson never would have recognized. It's from University. As a result of that reconstruction, McKim, Mead & White, mostly at the direction of the BOV, added several things to the Rotunda. For instance, the portico on the north side facing University Avenue, the wings, the north wings, left and right, the stair coming down, this monumental procession up to it from University was not there. This was the backyard of Thomas Jefferson's Rotunda. You also, curiously, you'll see in here, look at the marble capitals on the portico columns. They're just blocks of stone. They ran out of money. They couldn't carve the capitals at that time. It wasn't until 1902 that a gentleman named Williams out of Richmond donated the money to have the capitals carved in situ. In the late 1930s, Stanislaus Mikilski, a professor at the architecture school here, headed up a project to replace the concrete terrace flooring as well as the balustrades. They were concrete and McKim & White's work because, again, an inexpensive material. It did not hold up. So they were all replaced with marble features in the late 1930s. Also at this time, Mikilski converted the wings from classrooms to offices. And you can see Mikilski's work in green. left and right. This doesn't show all the wings, but that was primarily where a lot of his work happened. This also shows you the McKim-Mead White in light tan. The two porticos are their construction, as well as the Guastavino dome roof. Jefferson's was wood, and of course it disappeared in the fire. McKim-Mead White did do something unusual. The library of Jefferson that was in the dome room had expanded quite a bit since his time, and so by the time of the reconstruction in '97, they needed more space. So they left out the floor of the dome, what is now the dome room, and they had a monumental 3-story space that went up from the main level all the way up to the underside of the dome. A very Beaux-Arts, elegant, grand space. But when the library moved to Alderman in the late 1930s, they had some trouble trying to figure out what to do with this grand, elegant, monumental space. Flower shows were one thing. They would hold dinners here. They would hold other events, small events, but it was a struggle trying to find purpose for this very large room. In the late 1950s, then a movement started to happen to want to restore Jefferson's interior back. And the result of that was then the mid-1970s restoration, quote unquote, of Jefferson's interior. As you can tell in the picture of the right, they removed everything of McKim-Mead White. It was a gut project. They still left the masonry, the brick walls of Jefferson's ground level, but then everything else was removed, and somewhat gleefully. And you see here in blue is the work of 1976, Blue Injustice, and all that they put in. This is the level they put back. In McKim-Mead White's time, that floor was not there, and the main level of that monumental library was here and vaulted all the way up. And this is, of course, the restored dome room after 1976. This, I hope, will demonstrate something of the changes to the rotunda. This is the lawn down here at the bottom, University Avenue up here. This is Jefferson's original rotunda. 2 south wings, the portico, the grand stairs going to the lawn, and then the drum of the building itself. After the fire of 1895, the north portico was added, as well as the north wings facing University. Colonnades were used to connect the wings together and create these garden spaces in between. The terrace was installed at that time, and then later on embellished to create a grand monumental vision from University Avenue. The original rotunda, the ground level on the left, had a chemistry laboratory in the east oval room, chemistry lecture room in the west oval room, chemistry support space in the north oval. On the main level was a museum of natural history, and then a multi-purpose spaces in the left, west, and north oval rooms, and then, of course, the library in the dome room itself. So the preparations for what is now going on actually started more than 10 years ago with retaining John G. Wade Associates to do a historic structure report. Chronic problems were occurring more than what could be handled by normal maintenance, and so thus the historic structure report is our first the first thing we do to understand the building and understand the condition problems in the building and develop recommendations to budgets. All of that was established about 10 to 8 years ago. But The university did not have the money to do the entire project at that time, estimated at almost $51 million, but there was active damage going on to the building because of the leakage. So that portion of the project was separated out and done first. The replacement of the roof, which started in, the construction started in May of 2012 and completed a little over 2 years, or a little over 2 years ago. And it was not only replacing the copper roofing, the roofing material itself, but also quite extensive in terms of repairing tension rings that were found to have been damaged by our probes, exposing them, taking off the bottom steps, and then repairing and coating them, putting on a wooden substrate system that allowed the roofing to ventilate. There's a system of ventilation slots underneath then this roofing, the copper roofing that went on. One of the problems with the roof that was there that they put in 1976 is that it did not breathe from the backside and started rusting almost immediately. In addition to the roofing, we also did repairs to the brickwork in the drum of the building, Jefferson's drum. And as well, we took out all the windows, sent them off-site to be repaired, and then brought them back and re-roped, wired actually, and then put back into place. We also took off the ornamental sheet metal around the windows and repaired those. Many people think when they look at the rotunda that this white ornament on the outside is woodwork painted white. Indeed, it's not. It's all copper. As the Board of Visitors required McKimbing white after the '95 fire, the building had to be fireproofed. So to accomplish that, one of the ways they did it, of course, was the Wasavino tile roof dome system. And the roofing systems for the porticos are all done out of steel and tile. All the exterior ornament is this copper sheets that are pressed to take the form of the molding. And they were in very bad shape with lots of damage. They were removed. They were taken to a shop in Manassas, American Stripping Company, that did strip the paint off and then did repairs and then primed and painted, brought back to the site, and then reassembled on the site. This gives you some idea of the damage of the architrave. About the 1950s or 60s, the paint was taken off, and the way they did it was to take their 5-in-1 tool and beat the hell out of the architrave to make the paint pop. And this shows the difference between before and after our repairs to make improvements to that. The project was completed, like I said, almost 2 years ago, and over 4,000 sheets of copper were used in the roof project. Every one of them cut individually, uniquely for that position it placed. 6 tons is the weight of all the copper that went on the roof. So this next phase, planning was already underway during the first phase for this next phase. This next phase is just termed the renovations. This is all the remaining work of the rotunda that has to be done to the rotunda. We have several different objectives for this work. To finish the exterior repairs, this is mostly in the wings where a lot of the damage still exists. Replace the elevator. This is the existing elevator within the rotunda that is notorious for breaking down. Replace the building systems. A simple statement, but actually probably, well, it is about half of the construction cost of this project. Replacing mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, data systems, security systems, sprinkler systems, AV systems. All of that is being updated and replaced in the Rotunda. Increasing the usage of the building. This is really the heart of and the emotion for us who are managing the work. This is the real driving force for what we're doing. It's a shame that over the last half century, there are many students who graduated from the university and never set foot in the Rotunda. We want to change that, and I hope you'll see that that you'll agree with the plans we have for doing that. And then lastly, to improve the landscape. Just briefly, going through some of these, the repairs, you'll see the damage, spalling stucco elements, the brick damage, eroded joints, and spalling brick units, the staining on the balustrades and on the wings, the cornices of the building itself, the upper and lower cornice. We were supposed to have repaired those during the Phase 1 work. We opened them up with probes and found out that there was so much damage to the actual structural framework holding them in place that we simply patched them back together again and deferred that work till this phase. The elevator was installed in 1976. The existing elevator, to get to it at the ground level, a guide has to escort you outside in the cryptoporticus with a key, unlock a door, and let you into the elevator down there. On the main level, the access is through a vestibule that goes to the Board of Visitors room. It's not the most convenient thing in the world. We are enlarging the elevator slightly, and then creating a vestibule that is accessible off of the center hallway, so that anyone can have access to the elevator any time of the day without having special permission or a key. The systems that were put in 1976 were shoehorned into existing spaces. As a result, they're very rudimentary systems that are inefficient, wasteful of energy, and don't work well, as demonstrated by the mold growth on the ceilings in the dome room. They also do not, any of them comply with code with the access that you need around them to be able to work and maintain them. We looked at many ways of trying to find additional space for mechanical systems, the kind of mechanical systems that this building needed and deserved. We studied many different options. The one we settled on was to create an underground mechanical vault room in the East Courtyard. This, of course, is Jefferson's main drum, and this is the outside East Courtyard and West Courtyard. This is an underground room that we have constructed. It will also have a small catering space. We are also lowering the floor in the East Oval Room to create a mechanical space below that floor. Part of the system here is that these spaces will be linked by a tunnel that will go to a new elevator and stair in the parking area that is just east of the Rotunda and just north of Pavilion 2. Right now, that's a catering parking area. It'll continue to be a catering parking area. At the other end of the tunnel, this is the existing elevator, which we are replacing. We're also going to take it down to this lower sub-basement level. And the concept is that catering coming in will unload into the elevator, go down to the tunnel, will set their racks, plug them into in their little catering room, and be able to keep them warm. And then when needed, we'll be able to go to the elevator and come up to the dome room or the main level if that's where the dinners will be. The university in the dome room has as many as 150 events a year. It's a very well-used ceremonial space that's very important to the university in many ways, and we had to acknowledge that it needed support. This is a rendering of what that elevator will look like east of the Rotunda, and this is Pavilion 2 in the backdrop, and this is the catering parking area that exists there today. For improving the usage of the building, we want to open up the south portico door, increase the classroom and study usage by students, enlarge the restrooms, update visitor center in the dome room, replacing the metal ceiling panels, and open up the lower gallery for use for the first time, and then increase and enhance the service support spaces, for instance, for catering. Right now, until a year before our construction began, you would come up the south portico from the lawn, go exactly where the architecture tells you to go and how you're going to be welcomed to this building, and then be faced with glass doors that would not open. And then be sent down to the lower level, ground level, and have to come up through the guts of the building. We did a trial period for a year ahead of the current construction. It was very successful. As many as 70% of the people visiting the Rotunda came up this way. So it is going to be fixed into the new work. And that will be the entrance to the Rotunda. We'll all still have the entrance through the ground level also. On the main level, things like the presidential reception room that had a nice velvet rope, and you looked in and admired the antiques, that will be converted to a meeting room. We're going to put it to function. It'll have student, staff, and administrative uses. We want to get classrooms into the Rotunda. I'll show you that shortly. In the dome room, this gallery has never been open to the public. We are adding a stair and having it now open. We are going to outfit it with tables and chairs and hope it becomes an attractive study space for students. Hours for the Rotunda are going to be expanded so that students can use it for study at night. Into the late night and early morning. And the default setup of furniture in the dome room itself will no longer be the lining up of chairs ready for a lecture, but they're going to be tables and chairs spread around for use by students in studying. This is what catering had for their support prior to our current work. They took a couple of bays in the dome room to stack and store their items. They would plate dinners behind this folding curtain, which is next to the trash cans, for the lower level. And this is the only catering space that was given to them, about 7 feet wide and 15 feet long underneath the south stair. All they used it for was storage. The classrooms. So we are going to have 3 permanent classrooms built into the Rotunda with all the modern AV systems that our classrooms have these days. One of them will be in the lower west oval room. And then originally the 2 south wings were scheduled to continue to have office use as they did prior to this construction project. But after we finished contract documents and started the construction, the administration changed its mind and wonderfully has decided to take these office spaces, put them elsewhere on grounds, and convert the 2 south wings to student use. 2 classrooms in the southeast wing, and then in the southwest wing, a multi-purpose space that can be used for students, for faculty, for administration. We are also combining this space. One of the reasons why it's over here is that the courtyard we're going to be that has been designed for the west courtyard. That is designed as an open area, a lot of open paving with trees and a fountain eventually, and it's thought of as an area for receptions and for outside events. and we are creating French doors in between the multipurpose room and that outside space so that combined events can happen between the two spaces. For the landscape improvements, this is the overall North Terrace and, of course, the two courtyard gardens. For the North Terrace, right now, of course, it's the Jefferson statue in the center, brick around it, and then lawns around the flagpoles and steps down. That has been reconceived, designed by Olin Landscape Architects, a winner of the Jefferson Medal here at the university, to create a couple of outside spaces, outside rooms with low trees, the tree shrubs, and planters that will have then benches around them, the Jefferson statue here, the flagpoles flanking that statue, and this will become a more inviting and a sort of destination space in itself, place to sit. For the two courtyard gardens, the east garden is being on the east side and having a lot of shade from the large trees is conceived to be a more contemplative morning kind of space with benches. There will be a fountain in the center of it, and it'll be a quiet space for reading the paper, meeting friends, and starting the day. The west garden, as I've already said, is thought of as being more of a reception, open area, still with trees to give it context, but a more of an opportunity to have congregated events. So that shows you what our plans are and what the objectives are for the work. We got to get started. In preparation of that, there were a couple things we had to do. During the research phase for the renovations, our architects, John G. Wade Associates, discovered by sticking their head into these little openings that were created in 1976, they found some fireboxes at that time and had them displayed. Sticking its head in here and looking up and around, discovered, in fact, an entire chemical niche. A hearth, it was called a chemical hearth, is a niche. It was created by the first professor of natural history here, Dr. Emmett, who taught chemistry as well as many other subjects. We have hired a firm to go back now and study the records, and they've discovered incredible information. For instance, this is a hand-sketched sheet from Dr. Emmett describing the materials, the chemical materials he's purchased in New York, and writing back to, I think, Brockenbrough. It's an extraordinary the outline, this shows you the outline of the original, and there's an arched opening, and it goes to here. I think this diagram shows it best here. There are 5 different apertures for conducting chemical experiments. The 2 fireboxes that were displayed were really for heating the coals and the wood that were then transferred to these apertures for conducting the experiments. A very sophisticated system of underground tunnels to bring fresh air from outside to the fireboxes, and then flues constructed into the walls to take away the fire exhaust, but also at the top of it another flue that took away the fumes that were created in this niched area. Even a bellows attachment for being able to create intensively hot fires. The researchers have, to this point, have determined that this is the only extant example of an early 19th century chemical hearth in the United States and possibly the world. They get changed very quickly as technology improves. The only reason this one was saved is because this niche was bricked in 1840s, when the chemistry laboratory was moved to one of the wings, the south wings of the rotunda, and then when the annex was constructed in 1854, it was moved to there. So they didn't need this, they bricked it up, and that's what saved it through the fires and through the 1976 gutting. And so it's very, very important to us. It happens to be in a room that we have designated a visitor space, a visitor reception space, so we're going to be able to preserve it and interpret it for visitors. In preparation for the construction work that's going on and blasting away at the floor and digging down next to it, conservators came in, consolidated loose plaster and elements, and then protected it thoroughly, and we have it now behind a closed door with a vibration monitor next to it. Another thing we had, a bit of housekeeping we had to take care of before construction actually started, being in the East Courtyard, knowing that in the East Courtyard we're going to be putting in a new underground vault that was going to excavate this entire courtyard, we had a hint of a map from the mid-19th century by Pratt, and showing his typical designation for a cistern. So we had about 9 months before construction started, archaeologists go out, do spot testing. They couldn't find it. We removed the fountain that was there, and sure enough, it was underneath the fountain. And it was a cistern that is 12-foot diameter, 16 feet deep, and was thoroughly excavated by the archaeologists. The wood element that they found at the bottom, they believe, was at the top for holding buckets and other things to bring water up. And they also found in the wet parging that lined the cistern, before it's set up, the workmen who constructed it wrote their names in it. And one of the names was familiar to the archaeologists from previous work. They were able to trace it and found out that indeed the cisterns dated to 1854, and they were required by the Board of Visitors, one of 3 cisterns built in this area to support the annex that was going to be constructed or finished in 1854. So we have preserved these written sections of the cistern. We'll conserve them and then show them in the new visitor center. As work began, right after final exercises a year ago, we immediately put in a building monitoring system. This is a system of 3 lasers outside, 1 laser inside in the ground level, that operate 24/7 and hit over 130 targets that are placed on the building in various locations, even on Pavilion 2. And each target gets hit at least once every 4 minutes. These targets are designed to indicate movement either front and back, left and right, and up and down. The reason for putting in this system is that, as you remember, only the exterior walls are Jeffersonian. They're our most important historic artifact here in the rotunda. And the fact that we are putting in underground rooms within the rotunda and next to the rotunda and putting in and underpinning those walls, we had serious intervention that was going to happen to the building. We had to make sure that we weren't going to damage Jefferson's walls. And that's what this system did. It measured the movements. There is a list of people who got alarms if there was as little as 1/12 of an inch of movement. 1/8 of an inch, a real alarm went out. 1/4 of an inch, the project was shut down, and to discover what the real movement was. After a year and underpinning and putting in underground mechanical rooms, we've had 3/8 of an inch drop on the east side of the building compared to the west side, which the structural engineers indicate is completely normal for the amount of concrete that we have underpinning Jefferson's building and the kind of shrinkage that concrete has. Protection, we put up protection boards to make sure we didn't damage the casings that were being retained for the project, protected the floor in the dome room, also exterior, and then started selective demolition, removing steps that are going to be reconfigured, taking out ceilings. All the ceilings are out. Most of our infrastructure is going into the ceilings. So we just cleared them out. In the lower east oval room, this is that chemical hearth that is now protected behind the board, starting to put underpinning in and taking the floor out. Taking the floor out here in the west oval room, we discovered that the ductwork that was put in under the floors in 1976 were wrapped with asbestos paper, building paper, and then concrete poured around that, which of course resulted in a change order. We had to have asbestos abatement people come in to take the concrete out away from the ductwork. Utilities. Utilities have been a real challenge for the project. We have most of the central grounds utilities going east to west across the rotunda, between the rotunda and University Avenue. And yet our new utilities are going exactly perpendicular to those. The utilities were not where they were shown on maps. Many of these utilities go back to the early 20th century, and the documentation just isn't strong for that period. We ended up having to redesign our new utilities and having to go deeper as a result. And when we went deeper, we started getting into rock. And so we've been doing a lot of rock excavation. It has been a major change order, significant additional cost for us, but it had to be done. Another interesting facet of this work, discovery of this work, the stormwater lines, new stormwater lines, are going first off below the heritage sycamore trees that I would be shot if I damaged any of those trees. So we did it by directional bore underground and then an open cut for this last section. We were intending to connect it to a part of the stormwater system that is rather unique. It's an 1840s brick tunnel that is about 40 foot long, 9 foot wide, 9.5 foot tall. And it has an interesting history. It was put there by an engineer at the time and used as a reservoir for water. There used to be a pond about where the chapel is now. And so water was taken from the pond and put into this underground reservoir, and then a pipe would transfer it, but via a steam engine in the basement of the annex to 2 cisterns at the top of the rotunda. And they fed those cisterns. Those cisterns then provided, served the plumbing facilities in the building, as well as providing protection from fires. They leaked like sieves, and after 2 or 3 years, they were abandoned, and the whole system went away. In the meantime, that underground brick tunnel became part of the stormwater system, so that our new stormwater system had to connect into it. This shows you something of the mess that's out there. This is yesterday. And it has looked this way for the last year, and it hasn't gotten any better. But we're putting in more and more pipes and finding things. This is that area that I'm talking about where the brick tunnel is, off northeast of the chapel. And This is that tunnel inside. This is a pipe that took the water from the reservoir and then took it eventually up to the rotunda. At the other end, this is looking from the outside, this is that pipe again. The end wall we were supposed to connect into was far too precarious. It essentially fell in as we were doing construction work around it. But the rest of the tunnel is in good shape. We just can't connect to the sides of it. So what we ended up having to do is create an extension to the tunnel that is a new access point. It'll have a manhole, and these are archaeologists, believe it or not. The new archaeology, they're using a suction machine to take away the muck and sediment at the bottom of the tunnel to expose some of the features of that original tunnel and how the pipe connected to it. So it's been a fascinating component of the work, but again, another change order. And so the real thrust of the work after we got the building after a year ago was doing the underpinning. This took us the entire summer and most of the fall to do. There were over 80 different underpinning sections. An underpinning section is about 4 foot wide, and it is excavated out beneath the historic brick walls, and it goes down at least 20 to 25 feet. And then once it is formed up and ready, it is poured with concrete, then dry packed between it and the existing structure. And then you go at least 12 feet away and do the next one. And eventually you knit all of these sections together. So that's what's going on here. This is inside the East Oval Room that we're taking down also. So all the Jeffersonian walls here had to be underpinned with concrete walls also. And in this one picture, there are 7 different underpinning sections either being done or just been completed. This was, like I said, the primary work going on right at the beginning. With the underpinning, we also then started shoring. We did not have to underpin the wings around the east courtyard, but we drove shoring piles and then concrete needles, soil needles, into the soil underneath of these elements that are then tied to the shoring system. And this is showing one of the soil needles, or the concrete needles going into the soil. This actually is going to show up again, so it might be a reference point. This is the chemical hearth, and this is a way that we preserve the chemical hearth in place without taking out the floor and the foundation of it. And so the east courtyard, as I said, once the underpinning was done, then this work was able to just go ahead very quickly. Last December, they started the excavations in the east courtyard. 2 months later, they're nearing the bottom of that excavation. You can see here now clearly the underpinning shafts that are underneath Jefferson's brick walls for his drum. And a month later, starting to form up the concrete walls and structure for the underground mechanical room, pouring the footings a month later, and then in late May, I missed the slide. Yeah, I'm sorry. This slide, this shows you early May, we poured the roof of that underground room, and here have waterproofing it, and then putting in protective pads and sand over top of that roof. And now we have our finished working surface. That scaffolding is starting to go up as of yesterday, or 2 days ago, going up to now start to work on the rest of the envelope of that building on that side. We had to do this underground vault first before we could then start to do the work on the upper part of the building. This is an interesting comparison. Both of these pictures are taken from the exact same place. Here last March, before we had the roof on, but we were starting to form the walls and the floor of the underground mechanical space. You see the southeast wing above, and now yesterday that roof is on, and this is now the underground space that we'll start to be putting mechanical systems in. Similarly, in the East Oval Room, last December we started to do the excavations. This is the hearth in the background being protected, and the hearth again. As in February we started to get to the bottom of those excavations. Again, you can see the concrete underpinning. And then yesterday, this is the top. The slab has been poured in this room, and this is the same view below, showing the entire room that has been created now underneath the East Oval Room. The chemical hearth again there. Portico capitals. This has been another side work component to the project. The capitals that McKim, Mead, and White put into place. Here you see one. Here's one being lifted with a guy very nonchalantly standing beneath it. And what happened 5 to 6 years ago is that we found a couple of pieces of sugared marble on the floor of the portico, started looking up and seeing that indeed the tips of the canthus leaves and volutes were falling off. We immediately scaffolded the areas, got conservators in to do examinations. They would just go around and touch the ends of these and they would fall off. It turns out that McKim, Mead, and White did use a domestic marble for their capitals, and it just was not as dense as the original capitals that Jefferson used and that you see elsewhere on the pavilions in the Academical Village. And it was through freeze-thaw cycles over many, many, many years, starting to disintegrate from the inside out and sugar, which is just breaking apart. We could have spent millions repairing these, putting back the volutes and the acanthus leaves, but there was no guarantee that they wouldn't continue to disintegrate from the inside out. So at that point, we made a decision to replace them. And this is where we had our construction management firm, Whiting Turner. We hired them to help us during the design phase of the project. And one of the advantages of that is that they're doing scheduling, and they were able to identify the marble capitals as being a very long lead item that we had to get started on before we even finished the contract documents for this phase of work. In fact, it's been almost 2 years ago that they first brought this to our attention. And then that fall, we started interviewing stone companies and carvers and investigating marble types all around the world. And after all that thorough research, ended up deciding on using the same marble that Jefferson chose for his original capitals. Carrara marble out of Carrara, Italy. And we have Rugo stone out of Northern Virginia paired up with Pedrini carvers out of Carrara, Italy, to provide the capitals and install them. In preparation for this, for Pedrini doing this carving, we had to, of course, gather all the documentation we had on Jefferson's original capitals. There had been pieces of them all around the university, some as paperweights on people's desks, and we gathered all of them together. Our largest samples were in the Bailey Terrace, and so we had a conservator come in, clean those so that we can get a good color match. And then Pedrini sent their experts over with their 21st century technology of scanning equipment, and they scanned all the elements that we had, the remnants of Jefferson's capitals that we had, and then used in that scan, knitted all those pieces together to create a computer model that was about 80% of the original capital. There were pieces we didn't have, especially the top, the volutes. And for those elements, we went back to pre-fire photographs and luckily found some good ones that show some of the detail up close of these upper volutes and the floron and abacus and details of the capitals. We then gave all that information to Pedrini. They started off by doing a quarter section of a capital, doing the bottom out of marble and the top that we knew less about out of clay. And then our design team went to Carrara, Italy 4 times during this process to examine the mock-ups, to make suggestions and changes to the clay. And then overnight, the Pedrini carvers would make the changes to the clay that they'd asked for, and the next day they would go and investigate them again. It was a very tedious process, but we believe we got an excellent, excellent product as a result. Once we had a computer model approved, then it was put on something called a six-arm robotic machine, a CNC machine with a diamond tip, that started to take the block, the 9,000-pound block of marble, and started to reduce it to within 10% of the final product, 10 to 5% of the final product. You see what you get at the end is a series of layers of the carving. And then this took 3 weeks, this arm going continuously 24 hours a day to do one capital. The next 3 weeks were spent by hand carvers, then finishing those, smoothing off those surfaces, putting in the crevices, and completing the product. This shows you the block that was started with, and then the process that it went through, and the hand carving. This took, like I said, another 3 weeks. So it was about a month and a half, 6 weeks to do one capital. We started by having the 10 capitals of the South Portico done first and to have them shipped over to us together. In the meantime, here at the university, our engineers and designers worked on how the heck do you take out marble capitals and replace them with new marble capitals. They created a shoring system that then holds up the roof of the portico with these needle beams that are put through the brick frieze above the India tablature. These needle beams, then the weight was taken from the roof through the needle beams and then through these shoring towers, and then lifts slightly raised the roof to take the weight off of the columns. A track system was installed then at the level of the capitals that allowed a cart with the new capitals, or to take out the old capitals, to progress or to access each one of these capitals. Then that cart would come out to a tower where the crane would either take the old capital or bring the new capital in. All this, of course, this doesn't come out of graphic standards or anything. This is all custom designed for this system. And this is our cart. It is a hydraulic base to it for turning the wheels and for having lifts to it. It also serves as the structural carrying device. But then once it's down, the top structure comes off and it becomes just a cart. Here they're taking out the old capitals. And we were fortunate to find that the capitals, we had no idea how they were attached. And it turned out they weren't attached. They were just sitting there by the grace of God. So that made it easy. And then our new capitals came in. And this is last January, where we got all the old capitals out. and then started to put up the new capitals. A comparison between the new Pedrini Carrera marble capitals and the McKim-Mead white capitals that are coming out. We also found many design discrepancies between, discrepancies between the McKim-Mead white and Jefferson's original that we have picked up accurately in the new, such as this is a negative space between the volute and the acanthus sleeve. In the McKim-Mead white, it's just a solid space. There are a number of those kinds of differences. And then the very exciting time of putting in the new capitals, not knowing how this was going to work. It worked beautifully. This is the cart being pushed along in the tracks to whichever column they're going out to. The hydraulic system will turn the wheels, and then they'll be able to take it out to it. Then that hydraulic system will lower the capital onto the shaft, and then they are fixed in place. We do have pins and very elaborate devices pinning the capitals to the existing shafts and to the structure above. Just a fascinating project. This is a very quick picture before they got boxed in, but it gives you just a little sense of a taste of how beautiful these are going to be when it's done. We did have to put boxes over them because we still have a lot of work to do, and we weren't going to take a chance of damaging any of these capitals. Another component of the work is the sheet metal, the ornamental sheet metal that I mentioned to you before. This shows a mock-up that was done after coming from the shop, getting stripped and repaired, and it gives you, this is an existing Medallion block with the layers and layers and layers of paint. It gives you a good comparison of the difference. As you can see, it's only sheet metal thickness with wood backup and blocking behind it. We are taking these sheets apart at the natural joints that exist and then taking them off-site to be stripped, repaired, painted, and then brought back. This is a mock-up at the American Stripping Company's factory of all the elements after they've been repaired for us to look at and approve. The north portico right now is ready, primed, and ready to go for receiving its new capitals. The capitals, what? Am I already at an hour? Oh my goodness. Okay, I won't be offended if you leave. Just go ahead. Okay. All right, I don't know where I am in this, so let me just keep going. I'll go faster. It shows the McKim-Mead white capitals. The shrouds have been taken off of them. If you can see this clearly, there's a lot of damage in this capital. The new capitals, there are 6 of them on the north portico. They have been shipped. They are due to arrive any day in Norfolk. Presuming it's cut through customs quickly, we should have them within a week, and we will start to then take out the old capitals and put in the new in about a week and a half to 2 weeks' time. The north portico steps and mechanical room on the north side, we took off the marble steps that were put on by McKilsky in the late 30s. They've all been numbered, removed, stored, so that we can then get to this underside, which has been leaking terribly. We also took off the lid of the north mechanical room so that we can make repairs there. This is yesterday. We now have our lid back on, and we are getting ready to waterproof the bottom of the steps. And you can see the north mechanical room is filling up with equipment already. In the dome room, this is last spring, early spring, we had put up a mock-up of the acoustical plaster ceiling that will go back there and replace the sheet perforated metal panels that are up there now. This shows the one of them that has quite a bit of mold on it. And also, we are taking out the capitals of the columns in the dome room. You can see here now they are cast plaster, and we've taken off the shafts of the paired columns. The one that we took off has a structural post in it, and that shaft has cracks in it that we had to take off, and we're repairing and have put back. As of this week, it is completely filled with scaffolding. The tradesmen are removing the framework. They've already taken the perforated metal panels off, removing the framework now. You can see the Guastavino tile system that was put on by McKim, Mead & White in the background. That's a fascinating system in itself. They use the same system at Old Cabell Hall for supporting the auditorium seating. And if you ever go to the music library there, you can really appreciate the construction. A wonderful book has just recently come out on the Guastavino system. Another lecture. The dome room capitals, cast in place, cast plaster, very flat. A lot of problems, a lot of mistakes in them. We only have photographic documentation of Jefferson's capitals in the dome room, but we know that they were carved out of wood as opposed to plaster. And they had more relief, more detail, and we also picked up a number of stylistic problems, conflicts between the two. So we have made the decision to replace the plaster with carved wood. We have hired a carver in Richmond to do this. He's going to also use a CNC machine to get it down to close enough to then do the rest of it by hand. We have since, through research, found out that the carver of the original, or Studevant, out of Richmond, a carver who also did the capitals at Monumental Church in Richmond, you may know, and he very much wanted this project. And he got it, and then by the end of it, he lost his shirt and was asking for more money. But he did a wonderful job. And this is our process for, similar to the marble capitals, we do mock-ups out of clay that the entire project team, the university project team, evaluates, the architects evaluate. They are now finishing up a computer model of the approved capital that they'll then plug into a CNC machine and start carving. And we'll get a carved element to review. Other exterior work going on, we're putting up the scaffolding, as I said, above the finished underground vault. This will then allow us to get to the upper cornices for those repairs and also to paint the roof, which I'll talk more about just shortly. At the end of, this is the underground tunnel, underground mechanical room. There, then we will continue the tunnel out to the new elevator that has yet to be excavated. That'll be coming up here in the next year. And then construction of the above ground elevator. But I love that, I'm sorry, no. Love that view of tunnel, main level of the courtyard, and then the upper level of the terrace and the dome room above that. We are taking out the paving off of the wings. All that paving will be taken off. We'll be re-waterproofing, putting in new drainage systems, and then the blue stone paving, a blue stone paving will be put back, mimicking what's there now. In the cryptoporticus, we're getting ready to put utilities in. Those utilities are going to be deeper than the foundations of the walls next to it, so we're having to underpin those walls out in the cryptoporticus. And the colonnade, painted stucco. We're removing that paint. It's lead-based, so we're having to do it as an abatement. And we've been directed to paint the roof, so that when the scaffolding is completed on the east side within the next week or so, that's when we'll be looking for the proper weather conditions to start to paint the roof. it has to be, once again, scrubbed down to untarnished copper before we put a primer on it and then a finish coat. It's a Coroflon system by PPG, a 10-year minimum warranty to it, and epoxy system. Very demanding tolerances for how it can be put on. It's why we didn't do it the first time. The weather just would not cooperate. So we're keeping our fingers crossed this time. Some of the discoveries we find in the debris, pieces of the marble bases. In a interstitial space in the basement, we found some of the shingles. This is after the fire, so that's damaged by the fire, but the debris from that fire sifted down to the basement, and these are some of the lead-coated shingles that were put on originally by Jefferson on the rotunda, and nails and glassware, belt coursing and sills for windows. This is a wrought iron device for attaching the wood structure flooring to the brick walls. This was a fascinating find. It's now in the men's room on the north side of the building, but it's the original north end of Jefferson's Rotunda before all the additions of McKim White. Shows you the original penciling, fine brickwork, fine mortar joints. Jefferson's original brickwork, once it was finished, it had a ribbon joint, very difficult to form ribbon joint that really kind of frames every brick. It was then washed with a red wash, and then all the joints were painted in white, called penciling. And that evidence is here in this area, as well as we knew that the back door of the rotunda shows on the Maverick plan a stoop and stairs coming down from it. We assumed those stairs were masonry. Indeed, here we found the paint wash and ghost of a wood stair that went down from that back door. We had documentary evidence of there being posts in the lower level east and west oval rooms, but we didn't have any physical evidence. When we took out the floor, we sent in the archaeologists, and indeed they found the brick foundations for 2 posts that went into those rooms, and we think continued up through the main level to hold up the floor of the dome room. You can keep in touch with us. We have a webcam. It's mounted on the chimney at Pavilion 2. And then we have a construction blog that goes out announcing or bringing you up to date with the construction periodically. And I love finishing with this. We had kind of a morbid anniversary until the late 1960s of commemorating the fire of the rotunda by burning a cake. And several of these people have been pointed out to me. The only one I remember is Mrs. Shannon, President Shannon's wife here. And thank you all very much. I'll take questions as long as you want to stick around.
What is the fate of the old damaged capitals?
The old what?
The old damaged capitals that you removed. What's the fate of them? Where are they going to...
Damaged...
Capitals.
Oh, capitals. The ones that we've taken out, 1897. Yeah, that's the McKim White capitals of 1897. We're taking those off. They're made of Vermont marble that has just not held up over time.
What are you going to do with these?
Oh, what are we going to do with them? Yeah. Development has them now, and they are figuring out the best way to make some money off of them. Quite frankly. So get in touch with Amy Yancey, and she can help you out. Bring your checkbook.
Can you tell us what the original cost estimate for the project was, what the current cost estimate is, and what is the single most significant technical challenge you run into?
The original estimate set 10 years ago when it was just a theory of what, or we knew the bare bones of what we had to do conceptually, was $50.64 million. It is now $58.5 million as a result of the number of changes that we have made, the programmatic changes to the building, as well as the difficulties we found with utilities and rock and any number of things. When we took the ceilings out of the 4 wings, we discovered that the structure for those roof systems, the terraces above, was severely damaged by leaking water over time, and we've had to go in and put about $250,000, $300,000 worth of repairs just there. So it's been a number of discoveries. The discovery period is over, we hope. Probably the only thing we have left out there not known is that when we start to excavate the elevator in the catering parking area, we're worried about hitting rock there. But that's about the only unknown that we have still out there. And the biggest technical challenge? I'd say the replacing the capitals, the how to get the old capitals out, how to get the new ones in, and that has been a huge challenge and beautifully solved by the engineers and careful thinking and communication. I cannot say enough about this group that we have constructing this project. Whiting Turner is a construction management firm, all their subs, the team managing it from our side of it, the university side of it, but the architects, John G. Wade Associates, who specialize in historic restoration preservation work, excellent team. We're all working together just wonderfully. So it's been an absolute joy to do this project. Yes, sir.
It's a lovely exit line, and I hate to step on it. It's amazing to me. This is 1970 here, so I recall both the white interior and the green dome. And it's amazing how far in 40 years construction care has progressed since it was back then. I want to put in a futile protest about the dome being painted, but could you give us some sense, or whatever you're allowed to say, about the reasoning that led to the idea to repaint it? It strikes me as wrong. Copper is meant to oxidize and turn green, as is bronze, and to paint copper is like painting bronze. To me, it seems.
Well, quite simply, the reason we're doing it is because the BOV told me to, and the sort of rationale behind it is, besides the fact that most people who graduated, remember it as white. But some of the rationale behind it is that Jefferson's original dome was covered with his unique shingle, metal shingle. It was a lead-coated sheet iron. And the lead, of course, would have corroded to kind of an off-white. So that is some of the justification for going to white. Mostly it's because that's how most people know the Rotunda, as a white dome. And so that's why, or that's a big part of the impetus for painting it white. But there is some historic justification that can be made for it.
We have time for one more question.
You're right that, though, through most of its history, it's been a copper roof, because McKinley and White put on, in 1897, the dome, a copper roof. We do have documentation. They meant to paint it white then. It just wasn't done, we think, for the same reasons that the capitals weren't carved. The university ran out of money, and it was left copper, and it patinaed to that lovely green copper. And that's how it was that way until 1976. And that roof was excellent. It was in great shape, and we tore it off and put one on in 1976. It started rusting right away. There's some ironies here.
I'll make this quick if this is wrapping up. The Restoration Ball days, the pre-76 opening of the Restoration, there were interior stairways. I catered the Restoration Ball for UVA Catering. There were interior stairways from some levels to some levels back when you went from the dome all the way to the main floor. Are they still there, and were they Jeffersonian? Who put those in?
These are the circular stairs? Yes.
Interior in the walls.
they're still there. McKim, Mead, and White put them in, and we still use them and are going to use them as emergency egress. So they will stay. And in Jefferson's time, we're not sure. We have on the south side one of those circular shafts. We have access to it and still the Jeffersonian evidence at the lowest level. And you can see in there the inserts for stair treads in that shaft. So at least one, if not all of them, were used for access, stair access. But we also know, too, that the clock that Jefferson had in the south portico and the weights for it went down those shafts, too. So they may have very well gone down the center of a stair that went up in that shaft.
How many books are you going to get out of this?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Can I just mention one
Yes,
thing?
you may.
I want to make a plug for the McKim, Mead, and White interior. It was really wonderful. A favorite author of mine, Wendell Berry, when he was here giving a talk not too long ago, he was telling us about how he remembered coming to visit the university before that McKim, Mead, and White interior was taken out, and how you would go up the north steps and this grand monumental entrance, and then go into the building and there be faced with this huge monumental space with tall capitals and how appropriate it was, and to go through that space and then go down the lawn steps and be faced with the lawn and go down the south portico and go to the lawn. He said it was just an amazing procession, and I believe it. So, you know, I love the McKim, Mead, and White interiors, and I love what they did to the building. They really enhanced it. Not to say that they oh God, I'm getting myself into trouble. But you know, the one problem we have now, as a result of having a McKim, Mead, and White exterior and a Jefferson interior, is you come up the north steps from University and you can't go in that door, because that is now the North Oval Room, and it's a conference room. So there, the interiors and the interior layout doesn't jive with the exterior access to the building. I'll finish there.
On behalf of Lifetime Learning and